you already grown and been through some bull
Yeah.
and damage. And you know, kind of traumas in my head. I could have done without half of this shit for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. It's like the trauma constantly impacts everything that you
Everything
do.
and everybody.
Every relationship that you have.
I tell my kids the streets is whack. You don't have to even know these streets. Get away from this shit. You got to learn to accept where you are in order to grow and go where you're trying to get to. I always say nobody wants to go to jail, and they just can't wait to say I just came home.
Yeah.
So I just be like, I just enjoy the music and be chilling. But
yeah, and it's a different, like you said,
it's a lot different than the average.
The old values. You have your old values.
Yeah.
You have philosophies that you stand on.
Stand on them.
Do you feel like you'll teach that to your children?
To some degree, they don't need to know that because I tell my kids the streets is whack. You don't have to even know these streets. Get away from this shit. Go to the money, to success. Go tell my son, go date, go explore, go align yourself with friends that are about positivity, that you know that are going to be successful in life. Go do that. This street shit, there's nothing good outside.
No, absolutely
So you don't
not.
need to know these street rules. They don't apply. They don't apply. You don't need to know nothing about no street shit. You don't.
And
There's
the
nothing good
outcome,
outside.
the outcome is always ugly.
It's death or jail. There's nothing good outside.
There's nothing else. The outcome is always
for men, it's death or jail. For women, it's just getting pregnant as a kid or catching some shit or whatever. There's nothing good outside. Go inside and lock the door. Word.
Now,
that's it.
Lock the door. No, there's nothing wrong with staying outside of like the mix.
It ain't.
New York is a really small place. And if
I say it every day.
Like if you do certain things, sometimes staying in your house is the best.
I'm telling you, like, man, ain't nothing good outside. Shit. Like when people like, especially me from the hood, we glorify this hood in jail and all the street stuff so much that as a youngin', I grew up thinking, oh, if you don't go to jail, you're not a man. Like, what? We so backwards.
It's so backwards. But then I want to touch on something about that.
But before you say that, I'm going to say this. I always say this. I always say, nobody wants to go to jail, and they just can't wait to say, I just came home.
Yeah.
They can't wait to say it. But it's like we're that's ingrained in us from young, and it's just sad because that's not what's up. I would have, if I could have did it over. I mean, my upbringing, I went through a lot of stuff, and the name I have is great, but there's nothing wrong with just doing it the quote unquote right way and just going to be successful and living your life and avoiding all the pitfalls the streets bring. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. We just taught the wrong things. And by the time you find out the right things, you already grown and been through some bull and damage. And you know, kind of traumas in my head. I could have done without half of this shit for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. It's like the trauma constantly impacts everything that you
Everything
do.
and everybody.
Every relationship that you have, how you choose to talk to people, treat people, love people, keep them close, push them away.
We don't learn love. When you're young, you learn aggression and anger. You learn love is weak. You don't learn to be vulnerable and loving. Like, no, that's not something that we embraced growing up. I learned that as a grown man. Oh, love is cool. Wow, I didn't know that. You learn the opposite. I was not thinking about love or nothing nice. But imagine if I was.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't have been the toxic nigga in every relationship.
Yes.
Maybe not. You know
well, at least you accept it, that you
I get it.
that you played that role.
It was me. Sorry. I get it. I get it. Word.
It's so funny because most guys won't say that they were the toxic one. But like I've been telling a lot of my friends, I'm like, you know what? I had an epiphany the other day. I'm like, you know what? It's really not the women. I do believe that because the man chooses when it comes down to relationships, I do believe that a lot of what we're experiencing is just a woman's reaction. But
sometimes, I'm not going to defend you all the way.
Most times.
I'm a little off too. But I will say, a lot of times, men cause y'all to be off because some women, or a lot of women, start off trusting and get betrayed and get hurt. Now they're reacting to the bull.
Correct.
Not every single time. Or if a woman hurts a guy, probably because she already been hurt by so many guys, she just over it.
Correct.
And now she's cold.
Correct.
Or detached or whatever. So a lot of times, and men can't take what we dish out. That's just a fact. I don't know if men realize how emotionally unstable or weaker we are than you guys. Or we cannot take this shit through y'all.
No, you
There's
can't.
No way. If I had to date me, I'd have been like, fuck this nigga. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so men do hurt women, and then dealing with the damage, the aftermath of it, becomes stressful, and now he's like, there's no peace in this household. But she reacting to the shit that you did.
Exactly.
That's why there's no peace.
Correct.
And now you want to run from what you created, and then you be like, bye, I need peace. So they could do it again to somebody else. It's life. Sucks. It happens. It happens.
That's why I think timing is important. Because when you meet someone at the right time and they're like open to like being aligned with like doing right, it'll happen.
Facts. That comes with healing. And then to heal, you got to recognize what your trauma is and where it's at. Because if you think about the phrase childhood trauma, it happened when you were a child.
Exactly.
But they say that phrase to adults, which means you've been living with this shit for 15, 20 years.
Well, they say a lot about childhood trauma. And I was looking at something the other day, and they, one of the speaker, he said, healing begins with the understanding and a growing self-awareness. And
Facts.
that says exactly what you just said, which is you're not going to know what your negative patterns are if you don't have that awareness to really just like look at yourself and say, man, I could do this better. Or I could do that better.
It starts with accountability. You got to learn to accept where you are in order to grow and go where you're trying to get to. You got to accept where you at though, and be like, I'm here, I'm damaged, I'm this. You can't just use it as an excuse or a crutch, like, oh, I'm damaged and broken, it's all fucked up. No, you got to say, I'm damaged and broken. Let me heal and be better. Not just, oh, that's just what it is. Like, nah, you can't accept. It's like if your car's damaged, you don't take it to the body shop and get it fixed. You're not just gonna ride around with 3 wheels like, fuck it, it is what it is.
Exactly.
Like, nah, you got to deal with the damage and fix it.
Because if you ride around with it being broken like that, you're just destroying it further.
Facts.
You're not doing anything to create something new or repair it.
Right. And in repairing, it's almost like think of you break a bone, it's in a cast, it's set in a certain way to heal.
Yes.
You got to allow yourself, you got to have some kind of cast system going on where you can allow yourself to heal. You can't keep putting yourself through more trauma and more toxic because then you can't heal from it. I learned all that because I go through it.
I love that.
I be going through it like, all right, let me figure out what works for me because I'd be like, nah, you a little off, my nigga.
Well,
Word.
As I was looking at this episode about trauma, it talks about how addiction, homelessness, and incarceration all happens because of childhood trauma.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Especially addiction, especially because we go through so much pain young. People are just trying to cope.
Yes.
You're just trying to get through it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes you have to find a different way if you can't find an outlet. Lucky for me, I have music.
Yes.
Without this outlet to create, I'd probably be a serial killer. I don't know what the I would have been without music.
Because of anger, because of, you
gotta
agitation.
You got to get it out. If you don't find a way to do it, you're going to find the wrong way to express this.
That's right.
And that's a lot of that it can lead to addiction. Homelessness is probably, I used to always, it's funny, I was going to do a show. I might do it one day.
I want you to.
Well, I wanted to interview people that I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them were going to be homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be like, how did you end up here?
Yeah.
I want to interview a couple crackheads. How did you end up here?
Yeah.
Because you weren't born a crackhead. Born not giving a
addicted to substances, guys.
Yes, you got here for a reason. Like, but how?
Yeah.
What is your story? Because I'm sure it's mad interesting.
Yeah.
Like people just walk past homeless people and give no fucks.
Yeah.
I'm like an empath, so I care. You know what I'm saying? So I would be like, I just want to know, like, how? Like, how did you get to this point?
Well, Graf, it's interesting because those are the there's 3 core people that I work with, and all 3, they fall into these buckets: addiction, homelessness, and people that are incarcerated. I work with all of those. And I will say that, yes, childhood trauma is the reason why many of them are in those buckets.
Right.
But I will say that when it comes down to addiction, their stories are so interesting because it's usually a partner,
Yeah, that's a fact.
that introduces them to.
I heard that a lot too.
Yeah, like it's always a partner. It's always my boyfriend was a drug dealer, and then we just started experimenting. Or my girlfriend, she, this was her way of escaping, so we did it together to bond.
That happens a lot, and then you get hooked. That happens a lot. I've heard that story a lot. But what gets you to the point where I always want to know what gets you to the point from that point to everything going downhill where you don't give a fuck? Because for things to go downhill, at some point you stop caring.
Yes.
So when did that become more important than everything else that mattered?
Because
I hear that.
Addiction is a brain disease, and so at some point when the disease starts to really take over, it's kind of like with cancer.
Right.
at some point when the disease starts to really take over, like your body doesn't fight it off the same. And I feel like with a brain disease, your mind isn't even aware that it's gotten this bad. You know what I
I
mean?
guess so, but I know functioning addicts that are like legit addicts, but still they haven't reached the point of not giving a but they are addicted. So I'm like, what point did you get to where you stopped giving a I know addicts, especially when I was outside, which I'm not anymore. Let's
Yeah.
just note that. I know
Yeah.
people that I used to serve that are legit addicts, but still maintain a good job.
Had a
still got it
job,
together.
yes.
Yeah, but they are addicted.
Yes.
There is no quitting. If I quit, I'm going through withdrawal. It's going to be painful. Like,
Correct.
I am an addict, but I'm functioning.
Yes.
I'm not saying they're the greatest success story in the world.
Yes.
Some of them are, they not broke. You know what I'm saying?
No. There's lots of functional
Yes.
people that
So they straight
use
addicts though.
substances.
Like it's like it could be alcohol, it could be coke, it could be dope. Addicts. Like I cannot stop. I am addicted, and they admit it. It could be pills, but they are functioning. They're not on the street, and you can't. Some of them you can't tell. Some of them you could tell, but like this nigga look a little off. Some of them you can't tell.
Absolutely.
Even coke. Coke's such a quick high. I know people that when I was really doing certain things, I could just sit in their crib all day. Like I'm gonna just sit here with these 8-balls. I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna sit right on your couch. Let me know when you need.
Constantly, you're gonna come back
Be
and
right
ask.
here, dog. I got nothing better to do to hang with you for the next 8 hours.
And that is
Bring
so,
your friends.
That is so. Have a party.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have people that are straight addicted, but functioning. They didn't
Yeah.
reach. I guess you would consider that rock bottom. I don't know what the difference is between them and somebody at rock bottom. They just still care.
Yeah.
But they're just as addicted as the person at rock bottom.
They just haven't hit rock bottom.
Right.
They haven't lost their homes. They haven't, like you said, they're still maintaining
but the
their
level of
job.
addiction is the same.
Yeah.
So like what is the difference? Is it just mentality? Is it ambition? Like what is it?
Because it's brain chemistry. If we think about this as a brain disease, right? Addiction is a brain disease. Our brain has different levels. Like each of us can take different levels
Right.
of certain things, right? Like your stress tolerance is different than my stress tolerance.
Right.
And so maybe perhaps their like substance tolerance is different than the other person.
True.
So that's what I think about.
It possibly that definitely plays a role.
When I hear you talk about your music, though, you do talk about these three things. Well, two primarily. You do talk about like incarceration. That's a big part of like your, you rap a lot about like just the streets. So
Right.
incarceration is a part of that.
It happens, man. It's like we all got affected by that in some way. Either visiting somebody, or you've been in there. Oh, like look at my crew, everybody. Like I didn't pay for short of lawyers and bail. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
crazy.
It's just, coming from where I come from, that's just a normal thing, which is sad, but that is the norm.
I know, and it's like
I don't think I have friends that haven't been in jail. Do I have any? I mean, maybe now at this stage of my
Yes.
life. 'Cause I always look at day ones, like day ones. You have your day ones, and I say you should have your day twos. Day ones are people you grew up with.
went to
and-
high
and-
school with,
Yeah, so
junior high
you're,
school
you're
with.
like quote unquote stuck with them. Those are your core people. All of my core people are from my area, from my town, or just from my way of life. So they all been through the system in some kind of way, all been affected by the street in a similar way. My day two is people that I choose, and those are probably more aligned with the life that I want to live. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
What I'm becoming. But my core circle, everybody, whole hood is the same shit. So I don't know if we're just targeted, if that's the case, or everybody just went through similar things and ended up going the wrong way.
I just remember growing up, because I grew up in Jamaica, Queens too.
Oh, so you seen all the shit. You know what's going on.
And I remember just having a lot of like, but obviously I was like a Caribbean child.
Right.
So my parents were very strict. We couldn't go outside. I'm Guyanese.
Okay, yeah, your parents wasn't playing.
Yeah, so we were inside the house. I was inside the house a lot. But I do remember like being in school and seeing like a lot of like drug programs. Like people would come to our school and talk about drugs. And I mean a lot of that. Like we had that almost every day. And
Wow.
I thought about that as I got older. I'm like, why did we have so many drug programs? But then as I got older, I realized that neighborhood was like notorious for drug
Yeah,
sales.
what exactly?
I'm Jamaica and the 80s, 180.
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen.
And we would see like, crack
Crack
bottles
bottles
on the
and all that.
floor.
Yeah,
And I mean, we would see a lot of stuff. And I at the time, I didn't know what those things were. So I'm looking at them not knowing that I'm living in this neighborhood that
Right.
like heavily drug dealing, gun violence,
All that.
and because we migrated here, I don't think my grandmother did a lot of investigation when she like picked the neighborhood,
Right.
you know? So I just think about all of that and then just surviving that and trying to like make a way for yourself. For me as a girl, it was hard, but I can only imagine how much harder it was for you because you were actively a part of all of that.
And you know what's crazy? It goes to say how hard it is for young men in that
This
scenario,
is
because
why, yes, young black men,
when I was young,
young
like I said,
Hispanic men.
between at least 14 to 16, I was trying to avoid the bullshit outside. I wasn't I was so into fashion and just music and girls and all that shit. I wasn't thinking about street shit young. I don't know when I got roped up into that, but I was actively trying to avoid it and still didn't work. So just imagine, like, it's crazy outside. It's not. That's why I say outside, nah, it ain't for everybody. That's a fact. I was young. I was trying to avoid the pitfalls. I'm telling you. And once I really got outside, I was like, oh, here now. I'm outside. What's up?
And then when
mean-
when I listened to your lyrics, I was thinking about like, do you ever think that the music business, you know, there's this like concept that the music business enforces people and like tries to influence them to like constantly go to jail or like, you know, just corrupt the general population?
I would say yes and no, but it does, because me having no male father figure in the household, my influences were the gangsters and OGs that I looked up to, and then hip hop artists. I didn't have a reference on how to be a man from inside. It was outside, and it was the music. So I'm listening to what I hear in the music and emulating that. I'm seeing what I see as my reference as a man that's successful and is dope boys outside.
Exactly.
And so I didn't grow up with lawyers and doctors in my face.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't know if I don't want to say the business per se.
Well, then I think about the artists that they promote.
Yeah, I'm about to say that.
So that's why I'm curious.
Because if you're an executive,
yeah,
right, and I come to you and I'm spitting street tales, but I have talent, do you overlook my personal issues, or do you hold on to my personal issues? Say I'm not messing with him because he's promoting something negative, or do you say, oh, I'm going to support him because he's talented? Which one do you choose? Yeah, the negativity is going to sell, but he's also talented though. Or let's say I'm a substance abuser, or let's say I'm a whatever the it is that's wrong. Let's say I'm leaning into the darkness, but I'm talented. What do you do as exact? Like, I can't him because he's leaning towards darkness, but he's talented though. So what do we do?
Or you notice that
Do we not give him a shot?
Or you notice that the darkness might be harmful for this person, but you still allow them to willingly participate.
Well, you can't stop him. You can't change. It's not your job to change him or judge him. You can't change him. So do you not support him because he's talented, because he has issues, but he is talented? Like, what do we do? That's how I look at it too. Because at one point I was like, nah, y'all just pushing the bullshit. Because sometimes they do. It is agenda driven, and they are gonna push negativity because negativity sells. It could be media. It could be a reality show. It could be a fucking movie, a song. Negativity is always gonna outweigh positivity in terms of entertainment. It's just more fun to watch a fucking car accident than grass growing or some positivity. It just is. Even though it's like when you buy a meal, you Caribbean, oxtail, and let's say some broccoli. The broccoli is more healthy for you, but everybody wants the oxtail though. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's thinking about the greens or what's good for you. So it's like the shit that is considered negative, which normally it is. It's just more entertaining. It's going to sell more. Unfortunately, that's what it is. Even when I was making music, the records depicting real life that's happening outside do way better than the positive records I make.
That's what I thought about too.
Some of my fans be like, "Oh, we didn't know you made music like this." It's like, I always did. Y'all just ain't, y'all not playing that.
Yeah.
Y'all ignore that and go to the gangster shit.
Exactly.
But there's equally amount of positive shit in here too. Y'all just not playing that. And I know for a fact, that's why, because I make it.
Yeah.
Y'all not picking that record.
Yeah.
So that record is not the one that's resonating with people or researching the most. So there's not that many videos for the positive ones because y'all skipping over that shit.
Yeah.
The records with the messages. Now they're paying attention more. I'm actually re-releasing some old records now, just getting more attention.
And it's getting a lot of support because
Facts.
there's a different fan base.
Y'all skipped it.
Yeah.
When I made it. So I can't.
They weren't ready for it. But I understand what you mean.
Or maybe it's programmed. Maybe I programmed to lean towards the negativity, because that's a whole nother conversation. But I don't know. That's why it's hard for me to gauge whether I could blame it on the industry, blame it on the creator,
Or blame it on human nature,
We look for this.
right?
Think about toxic TV shows that do
Yeah.
well. Why do they do well? Because you keep watching that
A
shit.
toxic
You wanna
TV show
see
that
it.
you were a part of, Love and Hip Hop, for example.
That's a good example.
It's a really good show, but there's a lot of toxicity on that
It's
show.
only toxicity. Even when I did it, right? I knew what I was signing up for. And on that show, I was like, I said this somewhere else. So
I was happy to see you on that show. Not gonna lie.
That's cool. It was good for business. I ain't gonna front. Great for business. Great for exposure. That shit made me so much notoriety and money. I appreciate that. But the platform itself is not my style. I'm selling New York cool shit and just talent. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm selling. Dope creative energy, New York cool, hip hop culture. That's what I'm selling. And that show in particular is not really embracing that because that's not what the fans want to see.
They want to see people,
They want to see drama.
Yeah, guys cheating on their girls, getting caught.
I used to always tell them, I'm like, look, because I wasn't going to do the show for a minute at
Okay.
first because I didn't want to do what it takes to be successful on that platform. For me, either your personality got to match that platform or you got to do some goofy shit if you're going to be popping on a show like that. That's just my opinion. And I was born on purpose. I was like, I'm gonna get what I get out of it. Then y'all could just forget about me, forget I was here. It's all good. I don't mind not being popping here because that's not my style of shit.